Viewing the resident engagement survey, which was conducted last year in October, and we have really great results to share with you today. I'd like to welcome George Bryan, our Vice President for the Southeast region. Welcome. And of course, we have our chaplain Barnabas here, who is going to begin our meeting. Welcome, Barnabas.
It's always so good to be here, Miss Susan. It's always good to be in the presence of the residents as well and your beautiful smiles. All right, so let us open up with prayer this evening. Not morning. It's past 12. Don't get me. You scared me. Afternoon. See, look at you. We both did it. So let us pray. Oh, Heavenly gracious Father, I thank you for today, for it's truly a gift. I pray today that today's meeting glorify you in all ways, that we talk about the great things happening here at Edgewater. I thank you for the satisfaction of our residents, Lord. I pray that you continue to use us as employees and directors to bless our residents and just to support them in every time in their lives, Father. Lord, I thank you for those that's here today and those that can't make it as well, that you just be with them. And that I pray that today's meeting is conducive, conductive, and valuable for each and every one of us. In your name I pray. Amen.
All right. Thank you, Barnabas. Good afternoon. All right, to begin, we are going to share a video with you. It's a very short video about the engagement survey.
Hello, I'm Karen Christensen, President of ACTS. Welcome to our latest edition of ACTS Vision, In the Know. This series is part of our ongoing commitment to keep you informed of important information within the ACTS organization. Today, we're excited to share insights from our most recent resident engagement and satisfaction survey. At ACTS, we believe in creating communities where residents are engaged and feel valued, supported, and truly at home. Central to this mission is understanding what matters most to you, our residents. That's why, in addition to other means of gathering feedback, we conduct biennial resident surveys at each of our campuses, alternating with our biennial team member survey. Our satisfaction and engagement surveys are more than just an exercise, more than just a formality. They're a cornerstone of how we measure success, guiding our decisions and ensuring that we are striving to meet your expectations. The results are reviewed in detail at the highest levels of leadership and are shared with the Board of Directors. As we continue our work sharing and responding to the survey findings, please know that we're grateful to everyone who participated in our most recent resident survey. I am pleased to share that our survey participation rate improved by a full 10 percentage points from 56% in 2022 to 66% of residents choosing to complete the survey. Your responses are invaluable in helping us to benchmark and measure progress across all areas of our operations. Your feedback drives us to be better in our ongoing efforts to enhance your resident experience and fulfill our mission. It helps us prioritize future investments, allocate resources effectively, and refine our short-term goals and long-range strategic plans. For example, past surveys have led to enhancements in dining services, expanded wellness programs, and improvements in the physical spaces within our communities. Every piece of feedback is a building block in our ongoing efforts to exceed your expectations. To provide us with more information about our most recent resident survey, I am pleased to introduce Jonathan Grant, our Chief Operating Officer.
Thank you, Karen. Resident feedback is the heartbeat of continuous improvement at ACTS, highlighting areas where we excel and areas where we can do better. In addition to a high level of participation, I'm proud to report that the survey saw encouraging results. Detailed results, including community-specific information, will be provided at your community at an upcoming resident meeting. Today, I am delighted to provide a brief overview of our results. As a reminder, the survey included 32 questions for independent living and 16 questions for Oakbridge Terrace and Willowbrook Court. These questions were rated on a 1 to 5 scale, with 5 being the highest. Our overall resident satisfaction score was 4.14 out of a possible 5, and 27 of the 32 factors scored higher than in 2022. Key strengths include our fitness and therapy programs, resident health services, and our engaged staff, as these factors all scored at or above 4.5 out of a possible 5. We also saw notable improvements in the variety and availability of activities and events, as well as the number of volunteer opportunities, which reflects our commitment to resident engagement. A particularly important metric in this survey is the percent of respondents who said that they would recommend their community to others. I'm pleased to say that 82% of those who took the survey responded positively to that question. This number also improved compared to 2022, when it was 79%. We are truly grateful for the overwhelmingly positive response to this important question. There are certainly areas of opportunity, primarily within our culinary services. While these tend to be the lowest scoring factors, I am pleased that all areas improved compared to the 2022 survey, and all were above average. The highest rated culinary factors were all service related, reflective of the high scores given to the friendliness of staff. From the survey, the greatest opportunity for improvement is in enhancing the quality, variety, and temperature of food. Your responses to our survey tell us more than we're able to share in this video today. Collectively, the insights not only reflect your satisfaction, but also provide us with the actionable data to explore meaningful changes. So, what happens next? And how will we share more? Looking ahead, we'll be holding community-specific meetings to dive deeper into our survey process and key findings, including your community-specific survey results. These community gatherings will allow us to discuss findings in greater detail and address questions and ideas you may have. When they are announced in the near future, we encourage you to attend these town halls at your community. They're an opportunity for us to have meaningful conversations, celebrate successes, and outline plans for the future based on your input. Your voice matters, and these discussions ensure that it's heard loud and clear. Together, we can continue to create communities that inspire joy, connection, and a true sense of belonging. Thank you again for your participation in this year's survey. Your partnership and trust make all the difference in what we do.
Thank you, Jonathan. And thank you for watching this latest episode of Axe Vision in the Know. We're honored to serve you and are committed to making Axe a place you're delighted to call home. I would like to express my deepest appreciation to all who contribute to our success, including our team members. The survey results highlight a significant and encouraging post-pandemic rebound in resident satisfaction and engagement. Positive trends reflect our ongoing commitment to enhancing the Axe resident experience and the effectiveness of our continuous improvement efforts. We look forward to building on this momentum to further enrich the environments and resources we offer to promote the well-being of all our residents. We very much appreciate your continued support, partnership, and trust. May God bless you, your families, and the entire Axe organization.
Okay, so with that, George is going to begin our PowerPoint presentation.
Thank you, Susan. Hello, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here today. I know we have a number of folks watching comfortably from home, so welcome as well. I saw some in the bistro that said they were heading home for the popcorn and a movie. We're pleased to have you, but I'm going to actually open and talk about the methodology from the survey, so talk about under the hood, like how the survey was created. And then I'm going to go over some national statistics regarding satisfaction in general. These statistics talk about not only our industry, but just the general population within the United States. And then Susan is going to go over independent living results from the survey, followed by a snippet of some information from Oakbridge Terrace and Willowbrook Court. And then action plan. So the opportunity as a community is you identify those areas that you really want to focus on for the coming cycle, and she'll work with her team on those. So first, the methodology. So the survey was conducted in October of last year. It was about a 3-week cycle. It was originally 2, but participation, while it was up as an organization, it took a lot to actually get all the residents participated that did participate. You had a 61% participation here. And if you recall, I think it was Jonathan indicated that the overall participation was 66% for ACTS on average, so 61%. What that means is out of about 350 residents, that 200 participated and 150 did not. So if you did not participate, your neighbor helped answer these questions for you. And if you don't agree with the results, then the opportunity is really to participate. So the validity in a satisfaction or any survey, the higher the participation, the stronger the validity. When they're 90% or above, they're considered very solid. Yes, that's the condition there. 90% of the participants said this, therefore this is what it is. Right now it's 61%. So you may or may not agree, but it's what we have to work with. And I would encourage you in the future, if you disagree with what you're seeing, to definitely participate, because we do use this information for planning purposes. The survey was available on paper or online. I know personally that Susan harassed, that's probably not the best term, but I think probably true. She says residents to please participate, please, please, please. And I recall as an executive director years ago at Indian River Estates approaching a resident that I knew well, and I comfortably asked, oh, did you participate in the survey? Thinking I was going to get a yes. The response I got was, I really don't have any complaints. I said, well, that's okay. You can still participate. You just tell us how you feel, what your position is. But also the survey anymore has more than just satisfaction questions. It has engagement questions. And there's a direct correlation between a high level of engagement and a high level of personal satisfaction. The factors were rated on a 1 to 5, 5 being the highest. And it's not a numerical 1 to 5. 5 represents very satisfied. 4 represents satisfied. 3 is somewhat satisfied. So that's how when you look at the results and you see a 3-point something, you're looking for somewhat satisfied, just above somewhat satisfied, if you will. So when you look at the scoring, consider those as factors. There were 32 questions for the independent living version, and then 16 questions that were more applicable to Oakbridge Terrace and Willowbrook Court. Now, there were several indexes that we use to follow just to gauge general satisfaction. One of them is the Gallup poll. Now, this represents a 10-year period with a Gallup poll, and you'll see a 20% or a 20-point drop from 2014 to 2024 in the question, Americans are less satisfied with their personal lives overall, and you see that number dropping. So they're less satisfied by 20 percentage points over a 10-year period. There are a lot of factors that go into this. It could have to do with general health, significant stress. And you think about the 10 years, we went through a major economic challenge as an organization, well, yes, but as a nation, as a world, really, followed by a pandemic. And then post-pandemic, we're still struggling through the costs. So now we have inflation and we have challenges with employment. So major life transitions can play into this. Feelings of loneliness, negative life events, or a decline in mental health. So there are a lot of factors that play into this, but I want to add one that wasn't on my list, but also directly correlates, and that's just the access to negative information. There are physical changes that go through the body when you get bad news. There are chemical changes in the body, and then it sticks with you. And I did some reading on the process, but it actually stays with you. After listening to the news, negative news for 15 minutes can have a physical negative impact on your body. And we all, I set my phone over here. We all have the news at our fingertips. You know, on your cell phones, on your devices, news has never been so easily accessed. The validity of the news, you got to check your sources. Sources are important, but all that negative information, which is instantaneous, may have also a contributing factor over the last 10 years. That has also become more available to us over the last 10 years. Next is the American Consumer Satisfaction Index. Now, consumer satisfaction has to do more with cost or goods, consumer goods. And there are several factors. There are the product quality, service quality, image and brand, and price. Now, when you look at this, you also see a decline, but I mentioned earlier, you know, the financial challenges, you know, that we came out of at roughly around 2010. And then follow that, you know, by the pandemic and other issues. You know, there are just a lot of issues that relate to impacted the product environment, just availability of products and goods and services. So you also see a 10-year decline in that area. And this is generally for everyone. This isn't ACTS, this is just Americans overall. And then finally, the J.D. Power Independent Living Resident Satisfaction Index. Now, this actually applies more to our industry. And it's not simply CCRCs. It's a little broader than that. It's senior living retirement industry. And it covers areas that are very similar to what we would look at, and that's community buildings and grounds, community staff, dining, price paid for services received, resident activities, and resident apartment and living unit quality. So this actually more aligns with our industry, and you see a decline. Now, you do see a decline from 2023 to 24. When I read that, the J.D. Power report, it's 3 points of a decline, and they said that really didn't have a lot of statistical significance. They see that still as flat, but you see the downward trend. Now, what you heard from Karen and Jonathan, though, was our results actually went up as an organization, and I think that really is attributed to the efforts to really focus on areas. While you may not be a 4 or a 5, you know by our communications that the efforts, like we're focused on satisfaction and engagement. But ACTS overall has improved in many, many areas, 20 out of 32, and then a lot of communities did very well as well as Edgewater, Boca Point. But this indicates that as an industry, there were challenges likely related to the prior 2 slides, but ACTS overall, has actually from the last 2-year cycle has had improvements in many of these areas. Now, one last comment before I pass this over to Susan, and that is the correlation between satisfaction and engagement. And when someone is engaged in something, there's a strong correlation, because the more someone is engaged in a situation or an activity or a relationship, the higher of the level of satisfaction they'll have. It's like feeling vested. So, and what I see is communities, when I look at the dashboard and all the communities, that I can equate names and faces and places to results. So I can tell when there's a higher level of resident engagement, and that can be actually, you can process that differently as an individual. If you're a board member or a member of FLICRA, you're likely highly engaged. But this is generalized. This is that of the 350 residents, what level of engagement do they have with community activities? I know here, for example, you have a lot of card games that are actually put together by residents, and they'll have guests come in and visitors come in. And that's engagement, but is it community engagement? And I mean that as a question because I don't know. But when a resident is engaged in the community dialogue, like I see, a handful of people in this room now, and I'm assuming we have 340 that are watching on TV, that it's telling me that there's a variable with the engagement. How well informed am I? So, and I hope I'm wrong, but there are a number of residents that are not likely going to get this message, for example. So they're not going to hear us give this feedback and report and potentially assume you don't listen to us. Nothing ever changes. You don't do anything about it. When that's really not the case. So We do a lot to try to get information to residents, through a lot of different processes, but that's one of the challenges and that's why we're also measuring engagement. It used to be a resident satisfaction survey. Now it's a resident engagement and satisfaction survey, because that engagement part is crucial to your personal satisfaction, to all of our personal satisfaction. The more engaged we are, the more we have the potential for satisfaction, because we understand the cycle and the process. So I wanted to share that. It's my 2 cents worth before I hand this over to Susan to share the community results.
Okay, great. Thank you, George. Okay, so now I have the pleasure to share our results. And we will start with 3 of the criteria that we were rated by. Overall satisfaction is the first one. You can see on the right-hand side of the table our results. In the middle is ACTS overall, and on the left-hand side is the Southeast region for 2022 and 2024. So when you look at these tables, always on the right is Edgewater. So overall satisfaction actually improved since 2022 at a 4. Fulfillment and mission also improved to 4.1. And would you recommend an ACTS community? We actually improved greatly from the last 2 surveys, or from the last survey. We were at 65.9%, and now we're up to 78.9%. And I believe that's partially because the pandemic was over, we were able to get back to normal life, and people were able to become more engaged with living. Going on to other elements of the survey, the first one on this table, supports and encourages a welcoming environment. We actually went up from 4 to 4.3. Provides appropriate resources to help adapt to life and health changes. We also improved from 3.7 to 4, and offers resources to help or maintain or improve overall health and well-being, and that just slightly went up by 0.1 to 4.2. We were, however, lower than the ACTS averages, so this is an area that we would like to perhaps focus on. Okay, the next slide. In complaints or inquiries, how responsive are we? We did go up there, although that number we'd like to see in the 4 range. We went from 3.1 to 3.8. Friendly, courteous staff, we improved as well from 4.5 to 4.7. Competence of staff basically stayed the same. And keeps residents informed basically stayed the same. So we do have some opportunities there to keep you better informed. Although we do try, and we hope that more people will come out to meetings when we offer them. Okay, our next slide, volunteer opportunities improved from 3.8 to 4.2. Responsiveness to unusual circumstances or situations also slightly improved to 4.3. Safety and security of buildings and grounds also improved. We have a lot of improvements here, 4.0 to 4.2. And then fitness programs slightly improved by 0.1. And that will probably be an opportunity as we hire a new fitness manager, although Tony did such a great job that we're sorry that he left us, but that is an area that we'll continue to work on. Okay, our next slide, spiritual life stayed about the same. It dipped by 0.1. Quality of transportation slightly improved to 4.2, and variety of activities improved. And that's, I think, in large part, the pandemic was over. We could get back to normal. We also have great leadership with Ellen and all the resident committees getting very active on campus. So we saw a huge improvement in that area. So thank you, Ellen, and all the resident committees. Okay, culinary. So this is an area that, we always have opportunities in. Menu selection did improve from the last survey from 3.3 to 3.6. Availability of healthy choices improved slightly to 3.3. And quality of food also improved slightly to 3.3. Although we were below the ACTS averages, so this is definitely an area that we're going to focus on. Moving along with more culinary results, temperature of food was probably our lowest rating at 3.0. You can see back in 2022, we were at 2.8. We know that temperature of food is an issue here, and we're going to work on that. Service, both in dining and bistro areas, were below what we would hope they would be. But during the time of the survey, we had a large number of new servers who were just learning how to serve. It was their first job. We were getting complaints during that time about service. So those two figures did not surprise me, although I can tell you now, I think those of you in the room would agree that service has improved since last year. Most of our servers are doing a really good job. They've been trained. But when this survey came out, we had a ton of new servers, and I think the results reflect that. Quality of takeout remained about the same. It dipped by 0.1 since 2022. Moving along to buildings and grounds, upkeep and repair of buildings improved from 3.6 to 3.9, and you can see that was above the average for both the Southeast region and ACTS overall. The appearance of the grounds stayed the same from the last survey. Cleanliness of common areas slightly dipped by 0.1. And responsiveness to maintenance requests, we did see a decline there from 3.9 to 3.6. And we know that we have opportunities there as well. Okay, health services, we start with confidence in emergency medical response. We improved from 3.6 to 3.8. Quality of nurse practitioner took a slight dip to 4.2. And quality of rehab stayed the same compared to the past survey. And we are here below the ACTS averages, so this is also an area that we'll be looking at. So moving on to Oak Bridge Terrace, unfortunately, we had a very low turnout for responding residents. We had 44% response rate, so the results here are questionable, but the overall satisfaction stayed the same compared to the last survey. Assurance of benevolent care was a question, and that dipped slightly to 4.0, still a really good rating. And fulfillment of mission remained the same compared to the last survey at 3.9. Survey results for Willowbrook Court. Unfortunately, the response rate was also very low at 22%. The areas I'm sharing here is overall satisfaction at 4.0, which is pretty good. Assurance of benevolent care at 4.5, which you can see that's an improvement, and that's higher than the overall ACTS and Southeast region average. And fulfillment of mission was also higher than the averages overall at 4.4. I believe that's related to subsidy. Is that correct? So assurance that if I outlive my assets, I'll be taken care of through the Samaritan Fund. Thank you. Okay, so here are some takeaways related to Edgewater. 22 of the 32, I believe it is, not 31, right? Is it 31? Okay. 22 of the 31 ratings actually improved since 2022. 2 of those ratings remained the same. 2 were new categories, so we didn't have anything to compare with. And 5 of the 31 ratings declined slightly from 2022. So the areas that we plan on focusing on include culinary services. We, from this survey, understand that we can improve in dining experience, both in bistro and the dining room. Temperature of food is also an opportunity for us, as well as menu selections. And we introduced the restaurant-style menu this past year, and I think we need to change it more frequently, add some additional specials, make it more interesting. So we're planning on doing so in the coming year or this year. Fitness opportunities. Tony was doing a great job, and those of you who attended his classes were very disappointed when he resigned and shared how much you valued the way he taught, the way he approached fitness and wellness. And we're sorry that he's left us, but we will have opportunities to look at the variety and the offerings of fitness. And so we look forward to whomever fills his role to underscore the importance of variety and offerings in fitness. Maintenance requests is an area that we're going to really work on. We are joining a pilot study with new software for maintenance work orders, and we're excited to be part of that pilot study. We hope that that will enhance, improve our communication with you on the status of work orders, and so be looking for that new work request program that you, I'm sure, will have at your fingertips as well. So we haven't seen it yet, but once it unfolds, we'll share more details. And then medical services and independent living, I think we need to continue to educate residents on what's included, what is a la carte, how do you access services when they're needed. And so I hope this year to include Cheryl and Stephanie from rehab more often, as well as ACTS Home Health and Home Services at my Ask the Director meeting, so that we educate residents on what services are available, how do you access them, what are the charges, what's included, because I think when you know all that information, then you can access those services to enhance your well-being. So that will be an opportunity going forward. So with that, we'd like to open the meeting up for questions. Judy? Okay.
Thank you. Susan and George, that's a lot of information, good information. Will we be able to see that with a paper, sort of sheets of paper with the results on, or will it be, you know, online somewhere? It's just a lot to remember, and for people who aren't here especially, you know, we'll just go over everyone's heads.
Sure. Marty always has the minutes, and she always has the PowerPoint attached to the minutes. So Marty's happy to provide that to you. I don't know that we've added it to the forum. So we have not done that, but we do offer it, and you can always get a paper copy if you'd like.
Yeah, my question is, I know that if you buy in, you will be taken care of. But I have been here many years, and I've seen people who were transferred to North, put on Medicaid. What determines when the Samaritan Fund cannot no longer assist you in staying either at Edgewater?
So typically, if a resident moves to St. Andrews Estates, it's because they're not a life care resident and they've outlived their assets. And so at that point, there's an opportunity to relocate someone still within the ACTS family. But we don't offer Medicaid assistance here, but St. Andrews does. So there's always a place for residents, regardless of if you're life care or non-life care, and we make those provisions available for those who don't qualify for the Samaritan Fund because they aren't a life care resident.
My question relates to coordination among different staffs at Edgewater, and I don't know whether you have a system whereby you have evaluation on that or not, but it does impact, I think, on the residents' thinking on how well things are in various categories. For example, I don't see a lot of interaction of communication between maintenance and environmental. And you walk through and there's a light out, or there's a running commode or whatever, and the cleaning people should be able to see these things, both in the common areas as well as the bathrooms and places like that. And there's no, to my knowledge, no reporting between environmental to Ross's in maintenance. And I think that there's some disconnect there, and I find myself reporting things all the time about public spaces, whether it be the game room or public bathrooms or whatever. And this, I think, relates to questions on that survey as to, particularly in independent living, people's perception of cleanliness, et cetera. And so I'm just wondering how much. It's the same with the dining room. I mean, there seems to be a lot of emphasis on the service, but we know very little about what goes on in the kitchen and the whole temperature of food. Are those servers not picking up the plates and letting them sit there, or is there something else in the kitchen that's causing that problem? Those kinds of things I'm very curious about.
Right. So in the kitchen, in particular, we recently, when we introduced the restaurant menu, we redesigned the line, the serving line, and it's right underneath the AC, and I think that's part of it. So we've been talking about somehow redirecting the air from that AC vent, although the employees will hate that because they're very hot in the kitchen. And also maybe having additional heat lamps or different tools to keep the food hot until it is served at the table. So we are looking at how can we improve the temperature of the food. Related to environmental services and the maintenance department, Marianne and Ross have a very good working relationship. I think we need to just continue to drive home to all employees that we're all part of the maintenance team. If we see something broken, we need to report it. And so that's something that I'm glad you brought it up. I have my all staff town halls next week. I'll make sure I reiterate that. But we also, as a team, need to remember that we don't just work in our department, but we work in other departments as well as we walk around. Great idea. I'm not sure that they carry the maintenance forms around, but we'll ask Marianne to implement that because they're all over the building. The House men, and I'm saying men because they happen to all be men, are all around the building too. So we'll incorporate something to that effect, which will help get a work order established. Thank you.
I think that's it. Any more?
Helene.
What I wanted to add to is I don't really see a team mentality on the lower level. I know management pretty much has that kind of mentality, and I go to different areas of the campus. Even in the dining room, you could be waiting for your coffee and somebody is cleaning up a table and they don't, come over to say, let me give you your coffee. They're busy cleaning. I won't be specific of what I've seen in Willowbrook Court. I will tell you privately. But I don't see that, that kind of team mentality on many levels here at Edgewater.
Okay, so we need to, what I'm hearing you say is we need to improve that, and I thank you for your observation, because I know from a manager's standpoint, we all have each other's back and we are truly a team, but then how does that filter down to the rest of the team, and do they feel empowered to help one another? And I think we need to encourage that. Thank you. Delia?
I just think it's a great opportunity for us to maybe do some training for hospitality, because a lot of the staff members maybe aren't as comfortable with that scenario. Maybe they don't realize that it would be nice, just a little extra step. Mrs. Greenberg, here's your coffee.
Yeah. So I agree, and I don't want to embarrass Ross, but I'm going to share something that Delia shared this morning with us. This goes to being a team member. So there was a potential prospect who was here, and they happened to mention they were having an issue at their house. Well, wouldn't you know, Ross went to their house, he fixed their problem, and didn't tell anyone he did it. I didn't know he did that, but Delia told on him because she was so impressed with that, that customer service, hospitality approach, and that's what we need on all levels. So we appreciate both comments. Thank you.
I just want to make a closing remark about Susan. There were 20 of the 30, I think you're right, it was 32. But 20 of the 32 areas increased, and that's phenomenal. And I don't think it's an accident that also the timing that Susan's here and the staff does care, the compliment for Ross. You have a caring team, and I think it's all about the communication part. And resident engagement is very important. The comments that you had regarding culinary service opportunities, hopefully the culinary committee also talks about those collectively, because the committee approach is really ideal for that, resident engagement. But thank you, Susan, for your leadership. Outstanding results. Yes, and I'm sure that you're stepping into the next cycle with some energy and enthusiasm and bringing the training, where it's necessary for the staff. But thank you. Thank you, everyone.
For questions. Thank you. Have a great day.